we are so early on in all things AI that it's hard for us to pinpoint where the applications and the use cases are going. Of course, you're seeing chatbots, you're seeing very basic applications of AI in the real world in GovTech. For example, summarizing notes from meeting minutes and things like that. All things considered, there is so much more that is about to happen in GovTech and AI, and we are doing some work around that already with our clients. So one of the cool things that Clay is doing is Clay is part of the GovAI coalition, and so am
Hmm.
I, and so is Avero. But this is a cool little coalition that has been put together primarily by the city of San Jose. And correct me if I'm wrong, Clay, but there's a lot of interest. There's about 1,000 participants, and they have multiple weekly meetings where they talk about all things AI and its impact on government technology. So tell us, Clay, a little bit about the GovAI Coalition, what it is, what their mission is, and what we've done with them so far.
Oh, I'd be so happy to talk about the GovAI Coalition. I have been having such an enlightening time being involved with these discussions. So, the Government AI Coalition, like you said, it's spearheaded by the city of San Jose, California. And it is a coalition of people from now hundreds of public sector agencies. On their website, it says over 300 public sector agencies are currently a part of the Government AI Coalition. And this is not just government agencies like elected officials and employees of those agencies, but it's software vendors as well, which I think is very fascinating. It's a collaborative effort that is going to help inform policies and set the bar for what will be the industry standard best practices in the future. So I just think it's super exciting to be a part of it and to be volunteering and just even listening and asking questions and taking notes, really getting a temperature check on how people are feeling in a lot of these different sectors about the emergence of AI. So I've been attending the working group sessions and the committee meetings. I just want to be involved in like building the future.
Wow, what a great way to put it, right? So, what you said something about people being worried. What are people worried about as they talk about? And let's preface this, right? This is probably one of many coalitions, but this is
Mhm.
one that has probably gotten the most traction so far on the GovAI side. And you've been involved for the last 3 weeks now on um, attending meetings and talking to people that are in the coalition. So, what seem to be the themes and concerns that people have?
Well, the one thing that I've noticed that is coming up more than anything, alongside things like that I expected, such as what use cases are going to be good, data privacy, data management, use policies. Something that's coming up a lot is there's been many terms for it, but they've been calling it things like shadow AI
Mhm.
or Trojan horse
Ooh,
AI. And I'm
okay.
like, wow, that is a word. Those are terms that we are coining right now as we speak. And it's being used to describe how some software services, these vendors, are just updating their softwares because they're in the cloud, right?
Mhm.
They're just updating their softwares and adding AI features with very little warning. And our public sector agencies, whenever this happens, they can feel blindsided
Yeah.
and unprepared. So a lot of the conversations in these coalition meetings involve agencies talking to other agencies about what they're doing to just keep up with the pace of innovation.
I mean, that's scary. Now, my mind immediately goes to contract negotiations and ownership of data, right? When you sign a SaaS contract, it's very clearly mentioned in MSAs and contracts generally that you own the data. Now, this is opening a can of worms where you're saying vendors are releasing AI components to their products without necessarily telling the clients. They may be releasing disclaimers that you have to click through because it's an update or whatnot. but that means that AI functionality that is using your data to provide that service to you is being sneakily introduced. And that's the shadow AI part of it. You may be using AI and you may have data compromised to a large language model without your knowledge. Is that what the fear is?
It's a combination of several factors. That is one of the fears. That is one of the concerns. We'll call them concerns. How about that? That's
Yeah.
one of the concerns is data ownership. And another one from the privacy working group that I found very fascinating is some people have actually already agreed to these things being implemented in their software without knowing it.
Mhm.
Because there are some clauses that are like, we can use your data for any future technology to provide you our service. And people just agree to that and they don't know what it means. So you're right about the contracts being a large part of what people need to start paying attention to is contracts in the procurement process with these software vendors, those terms of service that people click through, they actually can be important to read for legal
Mhm.
reasons.
Yeah. So what does an agency do if the software we bought has suddenly started producing or offering um, AI functionality without specifically asking permission for it? Like I get it. I'm a I'm an early adopter. If something is providing, and like I on the iOS now, I have the beta, right, so that I can
Mhm.
play with Apple Intelligence, which is okay. But how does someone that is more guarded about letting um, AI run through their data and their systems, how do they counteract this? It's what's the discussion been around protecting yourself from shadow AI?
That's a good discussion to have, and it's a discussion that's had in almost every one of these meetings. A lot of them are about like how to they're just trying to keep up. They're trying to like things have already happened that they are trying to backtrack and take care of,
Hmm.
such as sending out requests. Like they first of all, a lot of them are developing policies, and the way you do that politically is definitely up to the agency, but they will develop a policy and then they will inform all of their software vendors about this policy and say, hey, because of our policy, you need to give us this information. You need to tell us what large language model is being employed. You need to tell us what our data is being used for in this category, in this category, in this category. And they are putting that onus on the software vendors to comply with their policies rather than being blindsided, like you said, by this shadow AI. So
Hmm.
that's been a theme in these discussions is being able to proactively be the ones who set the bar.
Yeah, and policy work is something that we're doing for some of our clients, right? It's when we do IT strategic planning, a big component now is how does AI play a role in the future for your organization? So policy is a big piece of it. I had a question yesterday with someone asking me if we have a template for AI policy. We could easily say yes, but it really depends on your organization, what you want to use AI for, how do you philosophically think about this? Are your systems even ready, right? You might have some on-premise old systems that are not connected to the cloud, and it's a premature discussion at that point.
Right. Are your data and your computer systems ready? But also, is your organization as a whole ready? Are the people
Yeah.
ready? Are your policies ready? And while we're talking about the GovAI Coalition, I just wanted to give them a shout out in the city of San Jose, because that is part of what they're doing. Is they have AI policy templates available on their website that are meant to be used piecemeal, like you were talking about. They're modular, depending
Yeah.
on where you are in your organization's journey towards implementing AI. They have a lot of different pieces and parts that you can use in your policies. And they come from all hundreds of organizations that have been involved in this coalition so far, and they're going to keep evolving as technology changes, and they're built for that because nothing is going to stay the same over the next few months. That's the only guarantee. So they have to be flexible enough policies to keep pace.
Yeah. Well, and I saw a stat or an opinion rather this morning about um, I forget who it was, but they said 99% of the all of the AI things are going to fail. It's going to be a bubble. Of course, I think that is a little too pessimistic. I do think that there's a lot of noise, like we've talked about before. Um, and attending these meetings with tell us about meetings where there's more vendors present than potential consumers of this technology. And is there noise? Are people doing the same thing? Are they disclosing what they're up to? What are these discussions like?
The vendors don't talk very much in a lot of these meetings, at least the ones I've been in. They are mostly there to observe. Um, However, in some of these committee meetings, like for example, the use cases meetings, if a vendor shows up and someone has a question about, let's say, an internal large language model chatbot that they want to use to search their database for policies and procedures manuals, and someone's in there that does offer that service, the entire conversation points to that person, and then they basically do an impromptu 20-minute demo answering everyone's questions because so many people have questions. And they've begun just hosting like rapid fire 15-minute demo sessions where there's 4 vendors that have 15 minutes each within an hour to present their product and just get them in front of people. Not only that, they are building a database, okay, this is the most exciting thing. They are building a AI registry. And this is the committee that I've been most interested in volunteering on. They're building an AI registry where vendors will submit fact sheets about their product. And these are all going to go into a database where people can search through this database and learn more about AI product offerings that are being built for, or at least customized for, the public sector. I think that's just such an exciting prospect.
Yeah. So let's take some questions.
Okay, we have questions.
Lexi says most government organizations are unfortunately known for being slow to modernize, sometimes for good reason. Is this different when it comes to AI? Are they more leaning more into this modernization? What seems to be the sentiment? Because you and I know when we go do IT strategic plans for organizations or even ERP implementations, it's been a long time since they've embraced something new technologically. What seems to be different with AI? Is it a sense of here's a way we need to kind of prep ourselves for this, or is it specific use cases and problems that people are trying to solve with AI?
That's a 2-part answer. I hope I can explain. So there are so many real use cases for products that are currently available right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they solve problems that local governments are having right now. They don't have enough people employed to be keeping up with the pace of their citizens' needs. And the use cases that are currently available can really help, like 311 automations. And so those kinds of really basic things are typically going to be adopted with a lot less pushback. But there's nuance to that, because it's a little political. Some organizations, just as a whole, are more open to new technologies. Some organizations are more resistant. You use the example a lot about what was that? The police station, the records management system. Do you want to tell that story again? Because I just think that one's so interesting.
Yeah, and it came out of I think a question we got at the panel we did at ICMA with the adoption, and sort of the same question that I asked you. Is how are agencies feeling about AI? Are we the only ones that are afraid of this? We were working with a large public safety organization in the US, and we were helping them pick a new records management system. And so the vendors were in there presenting their latest and greatest offerings. A lot of them had several AI components to it and automation related to that, where if Clay gets pulled over, Clay's information is immediately into the RMS using AI. It knows which code you violated, how much you were speeding, the body cam footage and the interaction with the officer, all of that's captured into the RMS, and it's right away populated into the central database so that there is no going back to the police station to type in data. So as the vendor is showcasing this, what to me is wonderful functionality, because it helps you solve several problems of time, accuracy, and your labor shortage. Um, the audience was like, don't show us anything because we
They
don't
didn't
want to
even
look
want to
at
see
it.
it.
And upon further probing, I realized that they didn't want to look at it because either IT said no, and legal said no, and someone else said no. And the root of all of this is, I think, a lack of deep understanding, A, and two, lack of policies too, right? You don't want
Yes.
to jump into something that is not ready management wise, because
Hmm.
especially in a police department, those kind of things can have massive repercussions, and we should probably do a session on that, uh,
Hmm.
uh, specifically related to public safety and its implications, or
Oh
AI's
yeah,
implications on that.
totally. The public safety use cases are honestly so helpful when it comes to reducing the load of data entry on emergency personnel. However, there are people's lives at stake. There are people's like legal cases that are going to
Mhm.
be involved in the records that are created with these systems. So that was the second half of the point that I
Mhm.
was going to make is it depends on the use case. It depends on the sector. If you are using it in a county's customer service office and they're just asking what's the address of the place where I need to mail this check,
Mhm.
then that is usually not pushed back against as much as something like a sentiment analysis of a police officer's body cam footage, which is well known to still have a tendency towards bias. AI is not good at that yet, at analyzing video footage and
Yeah.
telling a human what happened. So part of what the GovAI Coalition's policy templates include is actually this is how they're approaching it, things to like pieces that you can insert into your policies that say we will not use this, this is not allowed, like
Mhm.
specific no's and an open-ended yes rather than the other way around.
No, that's a great point. So, I think that's the way forward for testing out the things that you do want to do, and for sure, not going into the sort of hairy topics. And it
Mm-hmm.
also makes me think of whether, as we do I'm sorry, AI readiness assessments for our clients, we need a scale of maturity on which to
Yeah.
grade the readiness, right? Almost like the CMMS module, or methodology for grading how ready are you for a certain piece of technology or piece of change, and I think AI falls right there.